Hey everybody, welcome to Automation Hours. My name is Grady. I'm an expert coach here at Keep, and today's session we're going to be talking about the opportunity records. And so we've got this question out there for you guys, trying to make sure that we got everyone in the right spot. Renee's been doing a great job today, kind of fielding some of those questions, responding, encouraging. Looks like a lot of you are kind of not familiar with the opportunity records, and so that's okay. That's why we have this session. Hey Rick, thanks everyone for saying hi to us. So now, just like the description says, this session is really designed for Infusionsoft. We'll be going into that tool, showing you guys the opportunities there and how to manage those. Now, if you're in Keep, the principles that we talk about will still be consistent and true, but the software experience might not align to a Keep Pro experience. And so if you're nervous about that or think this might not be for you and you drop out, first, no hard feelings. We don't take it personally. Additionally, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw into the chat a link to another webinar that I do. And so that's our basics webinars. And in that one, I actually have a session where I go over Keep Pro's sales pipeline. So again, if you want to have a session that's more geared towards Keep Pro's pipeline, you can copy and paste that link and register for that session. I think that is tomorrow. I hold that one. No hard feelings if you drop out. If you want to stick around and learn more about just the concepts of having a sales pipeline and the way it can help and get you better organized, you'll probably be better equipped. And towards the end of today's session, we'll actually be talking about the campaign builder and how we can automate based on stage. And that will be something that does apply for the most part to Keep Pro and Infusionsoft. So again, if you want to stick around, we're glad to have you. If you got to drop out, that's okay too. All right, so let me grab my my screen mover. There we go. Now, some of you have been here a few times. Some of you are new today. So I'll just let you guys know that these are intended to be interactive sessions. We want to hear from you guys today. If you've got questions about what Renee is talking about, or if you've got questions about the concept or how it can apply to you or your business, there's a tool in Zoom called Raise Hand. And when you raise that hand, I actually see it in my second screen over here, and then I interject with Renee and say, hey, Renee, we've got a question. And we'll give you access to unmute your microphone, and we can talk it all out together. Now, we've also got Q&A because we know that, hey, some people are shy, or it might just be really crazy busy at your house right now, and you don't want to expose everyone to that. That's okay. We respect that, but there's definitely no judgment here. I've had my kids jump into several of my webinars just having conversations. Hey, Dad, let me tell you about some stuff. So we know that we're all getting creative here. So if you want to use Q&A, you can type in your question. I've got a special queue where I can see those questions as they come in, and I'll grab those as needed and slide them in with our conversations today. If you see that your question isn't answered right away, it could be that we're holding it because there's actually a spot coming up where we think it's a good fit. Or it could be that we want to hold it to more of the kind of the general Q&A session. We'll have some general Q&A at the end today with kind of seeing how much time we have remaining at the end. But we've also got chat, and you guys have been great in chat. I'm trying to keep up with it, of messages coming in, of feedback, your thoughts. Always make sure that you are doing it to attendees and panelists so we can all engage, unless it's like personal, like, hey, Grady, like, I don't know, your camera's off. That happens sometimes. Those kinds of things help us to make sure, again, like we're all engaging, having a great time. Oh, yeah. Rick says, of course, my kids jump in. I have like 20. I do. Actually, I only have 4. I have 4, and I've got 1 on the way. But yeah, and they're busy kids, and they're great kids. But they miss their dad sometimes. It's hard when he's like, a few feet away down the hallway. And so we're making the most of it. We're making it work. And so today's session is all about trying to master the sales pipeline. When you've got a sales process that has more of a high touch, you've got to manage it through. When you have that going on, it can be really easy to lose track of things. We talked about this last week, about just the importance of having a process in place. And I just shared like my own experience. I've been here for about 6 years, but before that I had 8 years with a window cleaning company. And I'll tell you, like, if someone were to ask me, do you have a sales process? I'd say, no, I don't have a sales process. I'm making it up as I go. But the truth was I did. I just didn't realize it. I would get a new lead. I'd chase them down, trying to get them to schedule a quote. I'd hold the quote, send the quote, get them scheduled for service, invoicing for service completed. That was my sales process. I just didn't have it written down anywhere. And so as a result, I didn't have clear visibility on who was where in the process, who I should follow up with, and people were just kind of falling through the cracks. And so after today's session, you guys are going to be much better equipped to be able to follow up with our customers, and I should say your customers, and help them to become customers. Now, to help us with this, we brought in an expert. I'm an expert of what not to do, but Renee today is an expert of what to do. She is an excellent ambassador for Keep. She's one of our certified partners, but not only that, but she's one of our partners for a lot of our strategic relationships that we have, like Fix Your Funnel and Digital Marketer. And so she knows just not only how the tool works, but how to speak with it, how to use it to leverage and expand your message, and even how to use some other third-party tools that are out there to really enhance what Infusionsoft is able to help you accomplish. Renee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Grady. I'm excited to be here. Let me go ahead, and I was trying to throw some things in the chat just to make today as valuable for everybody who's watching as possible, and really to make it really practical. I mean, the intention is to do an implementation workshop. Usually we would host, these kinds of things in person where I can make sure that you're doing the implementation. So we're going to go based on the honor system. And I really would like for you to actually take the time to do as much of the implementation following along. If Zoom is taking over your entire screen, don't exit it, but try to minimize it so that you're able to kind of go back and forth between the two screens. And of course, we are recording today, so you can always go back and follow through step by step. And really whatever works best for you. But the intention again is to get you a GSD hour, a get stuff done hour, which we, as entrepreneurs have a hard time doing. So let's get right to it.
Yeah, what are we going through today?
Absolutely. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to focus on Infusionsoft's sales pipeline and opportunities. As Grady mentioned, there is a ton of information out there specifically for Keep Pro users and how to set up the pipeline. The interface of Keep Pro is slightly, I would call it a slightly more user-friendly interface. Keep Pro itself is a very powerful tool, but if you're going to compare apples to apples, Infusionsoft is hands down the powerhouse tool. So this is going to allow you to kind of grow into it. You if you're on Keep Pro, likely you'll, maybe your business will grow to a point where you use Infusionsoft, but the interface and experience is a little bit different. So I wanted to make something really practical for Infusionsoft users. And I thought the opportunity kind of aligned perfectly because last week, Paul Sokol did a automation hour specifically on sales pipeline, but it did not do any tool training. It was 100% strategy of how do you actually set up a useful pipeline with milestones and stages that ultimately are going to give you complete visibility into your pipeline. Because if you create a bunch of meaningless stages, then the pipeline isn't going to be as valuable to you. Whereas what Grady was talking about in his previous role, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you've got a new opportunity, you're contacting them, they've now responded, so they're engaging with you, you're scheduling them for a quote delivered. Those are very important stages that you can start to track visibility into your pipeline. You have complete insight into where people are at. You also know if you're a team of one, then you have visibility into your own actions and you have some accountability. But also if you have a team of salespeople, you're now able to see visibility. Are your salespeople doing what they should be doing? Are they being productive? And making sure that leads are not falling through the cracks. And then you can also tie a pipeline in with revenue forecasting. So that's super important because businesses need to know what could potentially be closing this month and what revenues could they look forward to. So really 3 things that we're going to be doing. Number 1 is we're going to set up the sales pipeline. So the very last thing that we're going to do on today's implementation is we're going to go into the campaign last. We're going to make sure to first do all the setup that's required, kind of the behind the scenes. That's super important. And then we are going to show you how to use opportunity records. So once you have the sales pipeline created, then I want to show you how you actually work the sales pipeline. How do you move people through from stage to stage? We'll cover that. And the very last thing is we'll cover leveraging automation. So how you can create either internal processes or reminders, so things don't fall through the cracks, or external communications, how you can have emails going out to people in your sales pipeline when they're at particular stages. For example, if you win an account, wouldn't it be so wonderful, which you can do, to just have like a welcome to the family, a wow email go out to them? You can do that with the sales pipeline by moving folks into a particular stage. So we're going to cover a lot today. That's perfect. I see a lot of people have installed the campaign. That's wonderful. If you haven't installed it, just take a moment to install it. But again, I just want you to focus here first because we're going to go into the campaign at the very end. So Grady, why don't I go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, let me stop share. I'm going to add that link again to the chat because if you join us a little bit late, you won't see that. So I'll put that in there again for everybody once I find it. There we go.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be spending most of the time today inside the tool. So again, I would love for you to follow along. If you have questions along the way, feel free to chat them in. Grady will stop me or we'll get to them in the Q&A. And let me know if anything goes too quickly. So the very first thing that you want to be doing is you want to get that campaign installed. Again, I don't want you to go into the campaign, but once you've installed it, we'll be able to take the very first step. And another thing I just want to call out here, just in case you're not familiar with it, Infusionsoft or Keep the Company has created a humongous marketplace of campaigns that you can actually install right into your application. So if you're not familiar with the marketplace, I highly recommend that you go and check it out. Again, no need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of campaigns that you can either literally set up and go, or you can use them as a starting point so that you can build upon it. So the marketplace is really easy to access. It's just marketplace.infusionsoft.com. And when you come here, you're going to be able to either search by campaigns you're looking for. You're going to be able to search by partners or apps that you're looking for. So really whatever you're looking for. But let's see, as an example, if I type in sales pipeline, just to show you, because I know I sent you the direct link, but I also want to show you how I got to that link. So essentially, I went to sales pipeline, and you'll see right here, there's a whole bunch of stuff showing up. There's some services, some apps. So if I just remove the apps and I remove the services, you're going to see that it's just going to show me all campaigns that I can install. And so majority of these are free, or all of these are free, or majority of them are free, I should say. I'm not sure if there's any paid ones in here, but
if there are, they're few and far between.
Okay, so most of them are free. So there's literally so many campaigns in here that you can take a look and install. And installing them is super easy. You just click the campaign you want, click the install button, and install it into your app. And it's as simple as that. You're going to be able to start utilizing the campaign. And however it was designed, whatever tags it comes with, in this case, sales pipeline, it's going to come and pre-install those stages into our campaign that we can then use as a starting point. So first things first, make sure to get let me go to the right campaign. Make sure to have this campaign installed into your app, the Sales Pipeline Starter Kit campaign. It's this one right here. Install it so that we can start the process. Can I just quickly ask everybody, can you just give me if anybody hasn't installed it yet, I'll give you another minute, and then I'm going to move forward to the next step. Okay, and once you install it, again, we're not going to start with the campaign, but this is what it's going to look like inside of your campaign list. It's just going to be this MP48 Sales Pipeline Starter Kit campaign. That's what you just installed. Okay, so once you've installed the campaign, the very first thing that I want you to do is I want to make sure you set your sales stages. So one of the prerequisites, the only prerequisite really for today's session, that I wanted to streamline and make sure today was as valuable as possible for you is I wanted you to think about what your sales stages are. Now, if you haven't thought through them, if you're in that boat, that's okay. We can still work through this, but it would be a very good idea for you to just quickly jot out on a piece of paper or just know it in your mind. What are those sales stages that someone moves through? If you've taken the time to actually map it out, that's perfect. I'm going to show you exactly where they need to go. But again, this is where strategy becomes super important, because the tool is just the tool. If you haven't thought through really meaningful sales stages, then it's not going to be as valuable for you. So where the actual stages get set up inside of your sales pipeline lives under the CRM settings. So you're going to go inside of your Infusionsoft application, and you're going to go under CRM, and you're going to click on the settings. Once you're in the settings, on the left-hand side, you're going to see a header that says sales stages. And under here, you're going to see two pieces of information. I only want you to focus on two for now. The first and the second one, really easy to follow that order. So I want you to look at opportunity defaults and sales pipeline. But I want you to start in reverse. I want you to start with sales pipeline first, because again, we want to make sure our stages are mapped, and this is the most important piece. So we're going to come over to sales pipeline. And what you're going to see as a result of installing that campaign, you will have these three stages. Now, if you have set up a sales pipeline, you will also see other stages in there. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have one cohesive pipeline that we're then able to take inside of the campaign and really use those stages. So what you should be doing here is take a look. And the very first thing is we're going to clean up any stages we don't need, and we're going to rename them so that they're really valuable for us. If you haven't taken the time to pre-plan your stages, this is typically what an assisted sale looks like. And you're going to use a sales pipeline if it's an assisted transaction, meaning that you usually have to talk to someone. There's some human interaction. They can't just go to your website, put it in their cart and buy it. Those don't really need a pipeline. But most service-based businesses do need some kind of a way to track the leads that are coming through. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to rename the stages to make them valuable for us. Now, there's a few things I would like to call out about the sales pipeline stages and what they mean. So the first thing is each stage has a name. The order that they're in, okay, so actually let me go in order. So each stage has a name. This should be valuable to you in your business. So new opportunity literally means it's a brand new opportunity and nothing has been done with that opportunity. Typically, a contact is going to go into new opportunity if you're using your pipeline to create opportunities that are automatically being generated from some kind of online activity or behavior. For example, let's say you have a form on your website that says, click here to, speak with an expert, or click here to request a quote, or click here to do something, or fill out this so-and-so. If you have some kind of a way that someone can fill something out and then come into your application as a contact, you can also create an opportunity record for them so you can track which stage they're in. The difference between new opportunity and contacting is contacting means that you or someone on your team has started an outreach process. New opportunity means they're not touched yet. So it's really good to differentiate those two, because ideally, a new opportunity should not be in that stage for any longer than 24-hour period. That means that things are really falling through the cracks, and then obviously people are getting cold. Your leads are getting cold. So you can see right beside that, beside the name, you have a target number of days. So in this case, we put 1 day. Why that is helpful is because if you are wanting to pull certain reports to see how in line are you with the target number of days, you as a sales manager, or you even wanting to oversee your own process for accountability, can run reports on this. So if you don't know the target number of days, how many days someone should be in a particular stage, you can either do one of two things. You can take a guess, or you can leave it at 0. If you leave it at 0, then you're not going to be able to pull reports. But again, you're still going to have visibility into what stage of the pipeline your contacts are in. So it's still incredibly valuable. Don't feel overwhelmed if you're not sure the target number of days. Beside that is probability, and that comes in as a percentage. Again, you can see in this example, they're all listed as zeros, and you can leave them as zeros if you attach a probability to a particular pipeline stage in the opportunity record. When you attach a product, let's say I've got, in this app, I've got a contact and his name is Gregory House. If you ever watched House back in the day, it's a little throwback to him. And let's say I put $1,000 product. And at the new opportunity stage, I said I had a 10% probability. And as you go through, usually, for example, if you've got someone at the qualified stage, you might put a 60% probability of closing that revenue. If you've got them at the contract sign stage, it might be like a 90%. And then when they're in the one stage, it's 100%, obviously. So let's say we've got $1,000 product on the opportunity record and I put 10% probability in the new opportunity stage. It means that if I pulled a report of weighted forecast, the probability would be $100 because 10% of 1,000 is 100. So that's how that can work for you. But again, the target number of days and probabilities, don't feel like you need to set that up right now. What's most important is giving a name and having an order, because the order is going to show you the exact stages on the opportunity record in a drop down. It's going to follow that same order. So we want to make sure that it matches the typically the steps that someone would take in order to become to move through our sales process. The last thing
question, a couple of people have been in Infusionsoft but aren't seeing pipeline. I looked at 2 of the accounts, and in the past, sales pipeline was not included inside of Infusionsoft. We had actually a tiered Infusionsoft offering, and so it was basic Infusionsoft with sales, right, and then Infusionsoft with e-commerce. So if you're in an older edition, you probably are saving some money, but you're probably going to be missing out on this feature. And so if you're missing it, you probably want to talk to your account manager if you need it, and talk about what it would take to get that added to your account.
Yeah, absolutely. And Grady, I probably should have thought through just like the additions. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can add on the sales pipeline piece if you don't have it. And if you don't see it under CRM, if you don't see opportunities, then you probably don't have that piece. But again, then just use this implementation as something you can come back to and just do the implementation yourself, and also make sure it's something you need before you go and add it onto your account. So that's what I would say for those contacts.
And it is the sales pipeline. So there's Deluxe Sales is one add-on, and then Deluxe E-commerce is the other add-on. And so if you have e-commerce, doesn't mean you have the sales one. If you're not sure who your account manager is, you guys have my email now. Send me an email. I'm glad to figure out who that is and arrange an email introduction for you.
Absolutely. The last thing I want to call out about the sales pipeline specifically is that you can create a checklist at a particular stage. Now, this checklist will show up if you've got a contact in a stage of an opportunity. Let me actually open up an opportunity record to really make this more valuable. So the opportunity records live under CRM, and it's the third option down. They're opportunities. And the way you want to think about opportunities is that every opportunity is going to be tied to a person. You have an opportunity. You have the opportunity to make a sale or to have a deal with that person. And typically most businesses have a single opportunity, a single active opportunity with a particular contact at a particular point in time. So for example, if I'm like in the window washing business and I'm talking to, Gregory House, then I'm probably working on getting him sold for this season. So that's one opportunity that I'm working. But next season, I would have a second opportunity that I would work for him. So over the course of the entire life of your relationship with a customer, they can have multiple opportunities, some won, some lost. But those represent the different points in time and the different deals that you were essentially working on with them and what the outcomes of them were. But most businesses don't have, with one particular person, multiple active opportunities at the same time. The difference in that would be if you sell like completely different things that have no relationship to one another, and you had a single person and you were trying to close them on two totally separate items, then you could potentially have two opportunities for them. But again, typically most businesses are going to have one opportunity for one contact at any given time. The checklist is going to allow you, so I'm just over on the opportunity record right now, which I'm going to go into in depth. But what you can see on the right-hand side is the sales stages and steps are what is pulling from the list that I just created inside of my sales pipeline. So that's how those two connect. And that's why it's super important to map this out first, because again, you're not going to be able to do this if you don't have the stages in here. You can also see new opportunity, contacting, and engaging. It's taking the exact order. If I go back to my sales pipeline, it's taking the order and it's just chronological. Now, let me explain why these start at 500. So the thought process was, if you have a sales pipeline stage, if you installed this campaign, they did not want their stages to go smack dab in the middle of your stages. So they've put them at really high numbers to push them down. So your pipeline might look like, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you'll see new opportunity, contacting, engaging. Here's what I would recommend. You want to start by cleaning up this screen. So the way you can clean it up is either you can delete stages that you don't need to use, or you can rename the stages. If I click on edit right here, you're going to see it's going to pop this information up here, which is where I have the opportunity to interact with it. So instead of calling this new opportunity, I could call this new lead. And instead of making the order 5,000, I could make the order number 1 as an example, and I could remove the target number of days. I can just leave this as 0 and 0. And so what you're going to see here is now that same stage is now called new lead, and the order is 1. The thing about a sales pipeline is I would recommend the order, you at least put probably intervals of 10 between them. And the reason being is that if you create a sales pipeline that's ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you want to slip in another stage, that means you have to interact with so many of them to push them down. So if you leave a little bit of space, 10, 20, 30, then if you put a stage at 11 or 12, it's going to go between the 10 and the 20. So it's going to just allow you to essentially slip in stages that are
Give you more flexibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In fact, one of the things I think about as I see like kind of these, 100 level and then tens level kind of groupings. One of the questions we had was from Jennifer. She said, my company is using about 10 different pipelines. Can we still use this?
Yes. So here's the thing. Inside of Infusionsoft, you have one pipeline. What I mean by that is when you open an opportunity record, you have one drop down. That's it. But there are many businesses that have, for example, 2 or 3 or 4 or 10. I would love to know more about that. I've not seen 10 necessary yet, but definitely could be something that you're using in your business and it's unique. But the way I manage multiple pipelines using one Infusionsoft account is very simple. Here's how I do it. If I wanted to create 2 pipelines, one, let's say for the sales process, and then the second one for the fulfillment process. This is another thing that you can use a pipeline for, is the actual fulfillment. How I do that inside of Infusionsoft is I simply create a stage that's literally these dashes. I'm just creating a divider, that's it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to order that and I'm going to push this. So say I wanted my next pipeline to start after engaging. Let's say these 3 stages were where my pipeline for the first one ended. I would order this after 5:20. So let's say 5:30. And so those dashes go there. And then my new stage, let's call it, I'm just going to call it stage 1, new pipeline. And then so I would call this order 540. And so what you can see is that's going to go under the dashes. Now, this is technically a stage, but I'm using this just to divide the information so that when I go back over to my opportunity record, you can see here that it's really clean, that I'm not going to pick this stage. I'm going to pick either above or below. So this is how I can visually create that divider between the 2 different pipelines, or you can do it for as many pipelines as you want. Inside of Keep Pro, for any Keep Pro users, they have the Keep Pro multiple pipelines is a little bit cleaner, where that you can see them differently. But inside of Infusionsoft, this is how we have to work with the tool. So these are the different sales stages, and this is how you can create multiple pipelines. So going back to the sales pipeline, the last thing I want to just highlight here is the checklist. So at a particular stage, let's say someone is in engaging, and I wanted to make sure if the contact goes into that stage, there are certain things that I either want to make sure they're done, or alternatively, I want to remind the salespeople as more of just a visibility to do these things. So if there's something that must be done at a particular stage, you can actually create a required checklist. So if I go to engaging, you can see I can create a required checklist. For example, I can say signed contract, and I can make it required. And what that means, so if I go ahead and add that, this is inside of the engaging checklist. That's where I've put it. And so if you come over to the opportunity record and you move the contact into engaging, and I go ahead and save that, what you're going to see is that signed contract checkbox that I just created now shows up here. The other thing is, now that the contact is in that stage, which has a required checkbox, I cannot remove them until I check the box. So it serves as an accountability tool. Now, the thing about the checklist is there isn't a report on it. You can't search for it. So it's literally to be used on the opportunity records just to make sure things are not being missed. But I just want to specifically also mention that you can't search by people who have checked the boxes, essentially. So if I tried to move the contact to any other stage, let's say I try to move them forward, what you're going to see is I will get a notification that'll say I have to check off all the boxes before moving them to a new stage. So this is going to be really great to make sure that really important things are not missed. I would only make things required in a checkbox if they are absolutely necessary. Otherwise, you can definitely create them as reminders, but instead of making them required, you simply, this is going to be send contract. If this was not required, and I can also decide the order. Again, I have order here the same way I have order for the actual stages. I can also order which one comes first. So if I want to look at sending and signing the contract, then the order would probably be first sending it and then getting it signed. So I would update that. And then if I come back over to the stage, you can see they're both here. The one is not required though. So this is essentially the essence of what we need. So we've covered how to set up the pipeline stages themselves. Again, making sure that they're really useful and valuable for your business is what is going to give you most visibility. Because these stages, for example, if you see there's 100 people in contacting or 30 people in engaging or 20 people in qualified, this is going to give you visibility into what your sales process looks like. If your sales stages don't mean that much to you, then it's going to only be as useful as the strategy behind the stages. So that's really why I want you to think through what the stages are you're going to create. Once you have the pipeline created, so I'm going to just create a couple more stages. So I'll leave this second example in here. I'm also going to create a one stage, which I'm going to add below engaging. So that's going to be, and so this is a perfect example. I need to put that stage between 5:20 and 5:30 in order for it to go right there. So I would just create it as, let's say, for example, 5:25. You can see that drops it in right there. And then I'm going to create a lost stage as well. Just as a best practice, again, if you're not sure what your sales pipeline stage is, you have new lead. Contacting means you're reaching out to them. Engaging means that you've actually gotten a response of some sort. So now there's a two-way communication happening. Usually you want to qualify them. And then after that, things usually happen in twos. So if you're going to have a meeting scheduled, then you're going to have meeting completed. Or if you're going to have proposal sent, then you're going to have proposal accepted. Whatever those custom stages look like for your business, you'll have those followed by a won and a lost stage. Essentially, what's the final outcome for that particular opportunity? So for the lost, we'll put it at like 5:29. And so that's going to drop that in there. Once you have the entire pipeline set up, and just ignore this rebuild pipeline. This is a legacy feature in case you are wondering about that. Sales pipeline, all the stages are set up. Then from there, I want you to go over to opportunity defaults. In opportunity defaults, the very first thing is we're going to set up what are our active sales stages. The reason this is important is because inside the campaign builder, we can automatically create opportunities. And there's a checkbox that says, do not create if they are already in an active, if they already are in an active opportunity. So that is dictated by whatever stages you put. So if you put somebody in, if these are your active stages as an example, right, we're going to skip one in lost. And we're going to skip our dotted lines because that's just for dividing. If someone was in any of these stages and you check the box, which I'll show you in a moment, then it's not going to create an additional opportunity record for them. So that's what the active sales stages are for. Also, when you create an opportunity, by default, it's going to ask you what's the starting stage. The default stage is the starting stage of where the contact should start. So for most businesses, it's going to be new lead or new opportunity, kind of right at the very beginning. So you're going to select the default stage, and then from there, you're going to select the won stage and the lost stage. So usually those are going to look literally like won and lost. Here's the one thing about selecting multiple pipelines. So if you have multiple pipelines, you might want to have a global won and lost stage at the very bottom, which is what you attach to this won and lost stage, because otherwise it's going to be very specific to this. What you don't want to have is in your pipeline, you don't want to have multiple won and losts, because then you won't be able to tie that into this section. So I would suggest multiple pipelines, a global won and lost stage. So I have only one. So I'm going to go select that. And then also the lost is pretty self-explanatory. Now, if you move a contact into the won and lost stage, you can make it required to collect a reason. And obviously you can always have other as a reason for your sales folks or for yourself to select. But if you want to start getting visibility and data that you can look back at and see, why are we winning our opportunities? Like, is it our amazing prices, customer service? Why are people buying from us? Alternatively, why are we not winning opportunities? Is it because we cost too much? Is it because of our customer service? People go to competitors. What's the reason? So you can improve upon that and ultimately get better and better. If you don't have insights, then you can't improve. So if you make the reasons required, then what you will see, so usually the recommendation is to make lost reasons required at least, because then you can get visibility into why you're not getting business. The won reasons can definitely be required. It's just that's more of a personal preference for the business. It depends on how much data you want to be able to collect. But if I make the lost reason required, what you'll see is if I move the contact, so I will have to check this box. I cannot take them out of this stage until I check the box. And let me go ahead and refresh this. So now my won and lost stages are here. So the lost stage, the reasons that are showing up on opportunity defaults, which was on the previous screen. Again, just to make sure you're following along exactly where I am, I'm under CRM settings, and then under the sales settings, I'm in opportunity defaults right now. That's where I'm setting these things up so that they show up properly on my opportunity records when I'm working them. So from there, these reasons, the cost too much and went to competitor, these are what are showing up right here. So you can add more reasons to that list. But you'll also see that I cannot actually save. I won't be able to save them into lost until I select a reason. And you can see that it is required here. So that's one. From there, the only other thing I want to call out is specifically viewing opportunities. So if you are using opportunities, your people need to be in a particular group in order to get assigned the opportunity. So by default, it's the sales rep group. If you're not sure how to add someone to this user group, you have to go over to admin users. And then on the actual user, you click on their name, whoever your salespeople are. And then from there, you'll click on user groups, and you must make sure that they are part of the sales rep user group. If you want to change the group, like if you want to make it so that anybody who is a sales manager or whatever that is, or create a custom group, you can do that. But just know that opportunities can only be assigned to owners who are in a particular group. And by default, it's the sales rep group. This is why sometimes an admin of an account will say, why can't I assign an opportunity to me? It's because they're not in the sales rep group, as an example. Grady, any questions so far? I know I'm moving quick. Okay.
There we go. Armand asked, can we have global pipeline stages in Keep Pro? In that case, is no. With Keep Pro, they're all individualized pipelines.
And so going back over to the CRM settings and opportunity defaults, that's really the last thing to kind of call out here is the sales rep group. The last two pieces, so by default, the rest of these yes, no checkboxes, you're typically going to leave them with the defaults. Two other things to call out is that opportunity and contact owners are typically going to be synced out of the box, meaning that if you own the contact, you also own the opportunity record. In the cases where you have a sales team and you want the sales manager to own the contact record, but you want to give the opportunity to a salesperson, then you would toggle this over to no. But I would say that's more of the exception, not the rule. Most people are going to want to own the opportunity plus the contact record. So that's just one other thing to specifically mention. Okay, so let's go. So we've covered the sales pipeline. We've covered opportunity defaults. Now let's talk a little bit about reporting, because this is super important to you. So where the reporting is going to pull from is two places. Number one, you can set up some out-of-the-box widgets on your dashboard, which I will show you how to do. You can also create some powerful reports inside the opportunity section that you can then put on your dashboard as well. So let's start first with the out-of-the-box stuff and show you how that works. So I want you to head over to your dashboard. Inside of the navigation, you can just either go, if you've got it linked to your nav, you can go to dashboard, or you can go to the little house up here and click on the third option down to get to the dashboard. Both will take you to the same spot. And from there are a couple of widgets that I want you to add. So the first thing, and I'm going to go ahead and remove some of these items just so I can show you a very clean dashboard. But there's two views that I think of. One is if you're a salesperson. The other is if you're a sales manager. There's going to be similar but slightly different reports you're going to want to be able to access. So if I go over to the customize your dashboard, if I'm a sales rep, the things that I need to see is, firstly, I want to have my tasks. So if I've got any tasks that I've got assigned to me, I want to get visibility into those. So I'm going to add that to my dashboard. And you're going to see it's just going to create an out-of-the-box widget for me. I don't have to do much. From there, I'm going to go back to these three little dots, click on Add Widget, and then I'm going to add the pipeline stage widget. If you've got multiple pipelines, you can add this widget more than once, and you can have one widget be the first couple of stages, and then the second widget be your other couple of stages. So you can also do that. Yes. So sales pipeline, we're going to add that to the dashboard as well. Out of the box, it's going to come with everything. So I want you to click on settings right here at the bottom. And then I want you to make the selection. So if you're the sales manager, you probably want to leave it as all users. But if you're the sales rep, you probably want to see your particular pipeline. So you would put it to your name instead. You also want to be very specific about the stages you're seeing. I don't ever watch the won and lost stages. Those don't mean anything to me. So if I'm the sales manager, what I care about is how many people are in my new lead, contacting, engaging, whatever my other stages are. So if I wanted two pipelines, I could have these three, uncheck these boxes, right? And then I can specifically title the widget down here. You can see it says pipeline stages, but I can put in brackets all reps. So I'm very clear if I'm the manager that this is everything. So I can save this, and you can see now it's only showing me those stages that I've specifically checked off. And then I can also add that widget once again to add the other my fulfillment or whatever pipeline number 2 looks like. I can get visibility into those. So those are, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. So I have the sales pipeline widget, the task widget. Also, if you're a sales rep, I want you to add the calendar widget, because when you are putting next action dates on your opportunities, those are going to show up on your calendar. So click on add widget. The last thing is add calendar or calendar items. Click on add to the dashboard. These are your 3 out of the box widgets right here. And you can move these around. You can decide the layout. If you click on these 3 little dots, you can also change the layout depending on how big your computer is and what's the optimal viewing screen size. But mine currently is just the top one, in case you're wondering. So these are the different options available to you. Now we have to create some reports in our opportunity section so that we can make the most of the dashboard, because we're missing still a couple of things. Right now we have some global settings, or if we're so let me explain the difference. Right here, what I'm seeing is if I'm a sales rep, I want all 3 of these. If I'm the sales manager, I probably only care to see this report right here, the sales pipeline widget, and I wouldn't specifically have the calendar or the task items, because those are going to be very specific to whoever they're assigned to. Now, let's go over to the CRM opportunities. And from there, let's create the other reports that we need. So if there is any criteria, just start with a new search right here. You're just going to click literally on new search. And then from there, the very first widget, so we're going to again talk from the sales rep's perspective. So there's two opportunity save searches that I want you to have. One is all your opportunities. The second one is all your overdue opportunities. So you see the ones that are very pressing to you. So here's how you have to do that. You're going to set the date range to past due. Okay. In terms of the stages, what I probably would do is I would go with an exclusion and I would take out just your non-active stages. So those would be the one stage, the loss stage. And if you've got multiple pipelines, any of those, dotted line stages, those dividers, I would remove all of those. So can I even select that, Grady? Maybe not. So I'm just removing the won and loss stages then. Or alternatively, you can do the inverse of it. You can have it so that it only shows, and you can select all of your sales stages. I haven't actually tested this report out with the multiple pipeline, so that would be one thing to look at. But again, if the divider is giving you a hard time, you can always just remove that. And then do the inverse of having the new opportunities, the new lead, the engaging, the contacting, all of your active stages. You can put those in there as well. Then from there, you want to select yourself. So again, this is a report for yourself. If you are creating this for multiple users, what you can do is you can also set it to current user, which means that if you save this report and you share it with everybody, then all your salespeople can add it to their dashboard and it will automatically be for them. And that saves you from having to recreate the report over and over again for your entire sales team. So again, we have past due, we have the stages we're looking at, and then we have for the current user. And the last thing I want to show you is the columns tab. So if I click on columns right up here, this is going to show you what's going to actually show up on that report. And this is very important because your data is only as good as what you're having it show you. So from here are the things that I would personally want to see. So if it's my overdue opportunities, the things that I want to see is I want to see what the opportunity name is. Probably going to have that near the top. I want to see who the contact is for that particular opportunity. I want to see the next action date and the next action notes. This is going to be really critical. We'll get to that in just a second. And then the last thing is if I want to see the stage, I can also see that as well. The difference between if you're a sales rep and a sales manager, you would have the same things as a sales rep as a manager. The manager is going to have one more thing on their opportunity overdue. They're just going to have the owner as well. So if you've got 3 reps, I would also, as the sales manager, add the owner so I could see whose overdue opportunities these are. But again, if I'm the salesperson, I just need to see my particular ones and I need to see which contact they're assigned to. So I'm going to go ahead and search that. I don't think I have any overdue opportunities in this app. So essentially I'm going to do that search and then I'm going to go ahead and save this search. So I'm going to go ahead and save this search and I'm going to call it my overdue opportunities. And I'm going to save it with everybody again so that they also have the benefit of adding this to their dashboards as well. I'm going to save that. And then from here, let's go ahead and save. Infusionsoft has been slightly like a little temperamental today. Some stuff that's getting fixed right as we speak. So hopefully it doesn't.
Cross your fingers.
And my toes too. Okay. So essentially we would just save this report. I'm not going to waste too much time because I know we're already coming to a tight crunch, but basically that report would show up here and it would say my overdue opportunities. And so we would take that report, which doesn't look like it's going to save. We would take that report, we would go back over to our dashboard, and we would be able to create a custom widget. So if I go ahead and click on add widget, I can go ahead and I can add specifically a saved search or saved report widget. And I would do this for the my overdue opportunities as well as my active opportunities. The difference between those two is one thing. One is set, the date range is set to past due for the one, and then it's set to all for the other. That's kind of the main difference between the two of them. But we're going to go save search, save report, add it to the dashboard. I think we have non-cooperation now, Grady.
We did so good today. I was surprised we made it as far as we did.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, guys, you were having all kinds of issues this morning.
Yes. So basically it would be this report right here, the save search, save report. And then what I would do is it by default will show you the 5 results. I would max it to the 20. You can have it show you 20 results. You can also then click on a button that says show you everything. But I would just have visibly what are the contacts, who are they that I need to get on top of, and who are my overdue opportunities. So again, the difference between the two of those, if we go back to the opportunity search, is one is going to be, if I click on a new search, one is going to be with the date range set to past due. The other one is going to be the date range set to all. All the other settings of picking your specific current user and then also setting the stages are going to apply to both reports. So that's that. For the sales manager, what you can do a little bit differently is you can also see under the opportunities tab, you can see the target move date interval. So specifically in the sales pipeline, if you set up those target days, again, I was mentioning at the beginning that we want to probably have people in new opportunity only for one day. So if they move past that, or they have target move dates that are going beyond what you've set out, then you can use this part of the report as well to pull that information in there too. I am sharing a document. Grady will make sure to send the link, but basically this document has more information about how to work opportunities, so just the important parts of it, but it also specifically calls out the sales reports that you can pull in addition to opportunity searches. So I want to also mention this because under CRM, now instead of settings, we're going to go over to reports. You can see at the top, it says save search, saved reports, referral partner, and sales. So if you go under sales, these are going to be all the reports that you can pull that are tied to your sales pipeline. And I've specifically mentioned in this document, like if you're looking for something, if this is what you say, like I want to see the percentages of opportunities that are in one stage and move to another, then this is the report. The sales rep conversion percentages is the report you're looking for. And also just, again, some more information of specific use cases of why you would use that. So going back over to, so we've covered a little bit of the reports. We've covered a little bit about the dashboard. We've covered the setup of the sales pipeline and that important step that you need to take to defining your stages before you can even get into the campaign, as well as the defaults. Once you've done all of those things, let me show you 2 more things here. One is under the CRM opportunities. How do you actually work an opportunity? And it's very easy to do. So first thing is you can either create opportunities manually by clicking on add an opportunity. The thing that you need is you need to have a contact that you're going to associate the opportunity with. There's also a possibility, I'm going to just mention this, you can create opportunities tied to a company record. I don't recommend it because then you don't get any of the benefits of the campaign builder automation. You can only put contacts through the campaign builder. So I'm always using contacts when I'm creating opportunities. So you can give it a title. You you decide what the naming convention is, or you as a company decide, but usually it's going to be the person's name, or it's maybe the person's name dash the company name. So this can be, Greg, or I'll put a Lisa.
No more great houses.
Yeah, I'm doing a different one. So I would decide which stage I'm going to put them in. So let's just say it's a new lead as an example. So here I need to make sure I have the contact already created. And I feel like we're going to go a couple of minutes over today, but I really want to make today super implementation heavy. So if you're able to stay on, we'll probably go about 15 minutes over. And if you're not able to stay on, again, Grady is going to have the recording. He'll share it with you. And I still want to leave some time for Q&A too. So I'm selecting the contact, and then I'm putting any information that I have. So anything I want to say specifically about this opportunity, maybe background. This is going to be mostly background, whatever I already know about the contact. And here is where working opportunities becomes the most critical. You have to put a note of this is basically a note to your future self. What are you supposed to do and when are you supposed to do it? So I'm telling my future self, my next thing I need to do with this contact is I need to call and speak to about, automation, foundations, service inquiry. Let's say I got a, and then maybe referred by Grady.
You're welcome.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. And so the date that I want to do this, I'm going to put, when am I doing this? So I want to do this tomorrow, let's say, right in the morning. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. When I create the opportunity, my notes to my future self show up right here. The date and the time that I'm supposed to do that action show up right here. This is also super important because this is going to show up on your calendar widget that you just put on your dashboard. So if we go back to the dashboard and we take a peek at the calendar items, if I change the date to tomorrow, you can see at 9 a.m. in the morning, I have something, and the $ means that it's tied to an opportunity record. So this is how I can start to manage what's going on in my day of what I've committed to. So if I come back over here, this is my note to my future self, and this is how I manage opportunities. Basically, I come in here, I'm going to click on the plus add note about my last action. When I'm working an opportunity, I'm always leaving a paper trail so that it reads like a storybook and I know exactly what's happened. So if this is the thing I'm supposed to do, if I'm supposed to call and speak with her about a specific thing, then if it comes to tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'm coming back in here and I'm recording a note of what exactly I did. So I'm going to click on add a note and I'm going to just tell the system, what did I do? I called and left a voicemail, call back again tomorrow as an example, or I called and I spoke with. If you need to change the next thing, again, this is telling yourself what you need to do next. So this is what you did. But more than likely, you're going to click on this checkbox because you want to change at least part of it. If you don't want to change this piece, you at least want to change the next action date and time. So depending on what's happening, but this is basically, what are you supposed to do? Note to yourself in the future. And this is, what do you do? What did you do? Tell yourself accountably, what did you do for that task? So when I save this, I want to show you, it also creates a note for you down here. So here's the thing that you were supposed to do, right? This is the format. The thing you were supposed to do comes after the dots, and the thing that you did, called and left a voicemail, call back again tomorrow. This is the thing you did. So as you continue to track notes towards this, let's go ahead and save that. So as you continue to track notes towards this, so let's say, for example, I want to leave a second one. So what did I do? I called and spoke with her about automation foundations, requested a June start date. And then what do I need to do next? I need to send invoice as an example, whatever that looks like. And I set that out for the following day. So as I do actions, I'm putting a note. Oh, that should be send, right? Because I'm telling my future self. So that should be send invoice. And you're also seeing that here's what I did. Here's what I said I was going to do. I was going to call and speak. And then here's what I did. I called and I spoke with her. So someone should be able to see an exact trail of what you've done and what's happening next. This is also going to be super valuable because if you go to the contact record, if you're not on the opportunity record, again, the bottom half of this is identical to what is on the contact record. So you can see all of these notes, even if you're not on their opportunity. If I go to her contact record and I scroll to the bottom, those same exact notes which are being left from the opportunity are also visible here on the contact record.
Now, is that all contacts or just the primary?
That is all contacts who have a opportunity attached to them.
Okay. And what about tags? That was a question that Jennifer had. If we apply a tag to the company, does it also tag all corresponding contacts associated with it?
So you can tag here, company, if you tag a company or you tag the opportunity.
If you tag the company.
I hardly use company records. So let's see. I know there's tags possible in here.
But if we associated the contacts with the opportunity, they would get the tag.
You can actually access tags from the opportunity record. So you can see right up at the top, there's the tab that says tag. And so let's just go ahead and attach this one because I don't really know what it does. And let's go back to her contact record. So you can see here that that same tag that I just applied on the opportunity record is also showing up. Basically, from this view down is the same across both. So if you've got internal forms that you're using to manage things, you can also, and again, I'll probably do a second one specifically on the pipeline just to show you some more advanced tips and tricks, but like you can also manage your internal processes right from the opportunity record as well. Let me go back to where I was. So let's go. So let me show you a pro tip. If you need to get back to the opportunity and you're on the contact record, there's a way for you to do that. If you click on opportunity, so again, scroll down to just below the save search button, clone and delete button on the contact record, click on opportunities. This will show you all the opportunities that are attached to that particular contact. And if you click on edit, you can get back to the opportunity record. So they're bi-directional. I can either get to the contact record by clicking on the name here, and then I can get back to the opportunity record by clicking inside of her contact record. I can also go straight to opportunities and just search by her name and click on it that way. But if you're already on the contact record, no need to leave it. You can get there. So we've covered the next follow-up action. This is essential. If you're using opportunities, you must use next follow-up action and the date and what you did. This is very, very important. The sales stage you're going to use depending on if you're ready to move them. So this, you always want to make sure that this is accurate of where the contact is in real time today in your sales process. So every single time you touch an opportunity, you're going to be putting what is the next thing, note to your future self. What is it that you should be doing in the future? And also, what did you do? If you need to move the sales stage, then this is where you're going to go select the appropriate stage. And then, of course, make sure to press save, because inside this add a note about your last action, you will see there is a save button there. So it's saving that already to the record. But if you move a sales stage, you must press save. Otherwise, it's not going to save it. This sales stage moving is what ties to the campaign builder. This is where your automation connects to what you're doing. So a sales pipeline is a manual accountability tool where you as the salesperson are going in, recording your actions, telling the system what's happening with that particular person. Where automation can support you is you can have it send out particular messages or put internal processes in place when you move a contact into a particular stage. So that's really the trigger of it, is if I put someone in the one stage and I go ahead and I press save, in the back end inside the campaign, I can design it so that it triggers out the welcome to the family email. Or if I put them in a lost stage, maybe it's going to send them like a, not right away, but maybe like an hour or a day later, either a process for me to create a task to call them, or maybe I send them like a tell us what we could have done better kind of an email. So those are some options as well. The other thing to note about one particular opportunity record is you can only be in a single stage at a single time. So that's the other thing too, is as you can see with the drop down, it's a single select. You cannot be in two places at once, essentially. And again, on the document that Grady is going to share with you, just a little bit more on these 2 pages, how to work an opportunity, I have some information of how to get into the opportunity record, where you need to be creating your notes, all the different spots, and then also how do you change the stages. So you can refer back to that as well. Okay. Sales pipeline. Let's quickly go over that, and then let's get into questions. So your sales pipeline, now that you've got it downloaded into your app, here's what we need to do. We need to go over to our campaigns. So we're going to access our campaigns by going to marketing and then going to campaign builder. And so under the campaign builder, we're going to have our sales pipeline starter kit already pre-installed for us. So we're going to go ahead and open that. And here are the things that I want you to be thinking about. So this is how it comes. You're going to see a bunch of red stuff. That just means that those stages are not set up. So we want to make sure that whatever the stages are that we need to be tracking for, that we have them correctly already set up inside of our sales pipeline. So there's a little bit of a definition here for us if we want to keep it, you feel free, but it's basically just defining what is happening at each individual stage. I'm going to remove that for the time being. So if you look at the pipeline, here's how it works. The pipeline is like a set of stairs. We're trying to move our prospect, right, up the stairs so that they eventually buy. And these two stages are kind of hanging out over here because those are not active stages. Once someone goes into won or lost, they're typically there, unless you have a brand new opportunity record, in which case they can start through the process again. But the one thing to note is that this is going to work for that particular stage, meaning that if you put someone in a particular stage, you can have two campaigns. If you've got two pipelines, you can have two campaigns, which are mapping out the automation that you want for those stages. But again, just thinking through probably having a global won and lost stage is going to make life a whole lot easier so you can control the message that goes out. Very simple to set this up. And if you also are wondering about these little thumbs ups, this is an older campaign, so these icons are not available on this dropdown anymore. But here's the most important thing to know is that they are opportunity stage moves. You can see that by the little guy right here. And the same goal, if you wanted to add a brand new one, let's say you filled up all these and you need another one, you just pull it out from right here, the opportunity stage move goal. And you can see it's got the little yellow guy here as well. If you open up any of these goals, here's what you're going to see. It's going to have an into or out of. So you can see all of these goals are set up like a sandwich basically, and each one of them function independently. And what I mean by that is basically, again, think about the fact that you can only be in one place at one particular time. So we close the door and we open the door for another stage. So if I'm into new opportunity, it means that I'm not anywhere else because I've got these out of goals attached to all of them, which means it pulls me out of whatever stage I might have been in and puts me into the stage that is associated with the drop down on my menu. So from
Are you able to zoom in a little bit, Renee?
Yeah, absolutely. Is that better?
Yeah.
So from here, I click on the new opportunity. Okay. I'm just going to click on the very first one. And you're going to see there's two parts of this configuration. It's very easy. The first one is when you move into a stage. So the first part of it is always going to be into the stage. And then the second part that's sandwiching the back end of it is going to be out of that same stage. So that's how every single one of your sales goals are going to be set up so that it works to stop and start the right automation. That's it. It's very easy to set this up once you know what you're doing. It looks more complicated than it is. Mm-hmm. And so essentially what you're doing in here is you're setting up all the stages. Now here's the thing. If you don't want automation in every stage, you don't need to put every single stage in here. If you only have automation behind, let's say 3 or 4 of your 6 stages, and I typically recommend a good sales pipeline should probably not be any more than 7 or 8 stages. You probably are overdoing it with the stages if you have more than that. So that's another thing to just keep in mind is just be very mindful about picking the right stages for yourself.
Yeah,
so
I like what Paul talked about last week was the idea that the pipeline stages should be like big milestones and not so much every little task inside. That's what the checklists are for.
Yeah, absolutely. Checklists. Exactly. So inside the pipeline, basically, if you go back over to the opportunity record and we put the contact in a particular stage, that's what's going to tie into the pipeline. So if I move someone into contacting, as an example, and I press save, then inside this pipeline, it is going to trigger this goal right here because I've put the person inside of contacting. And therefore, if they were in any other stage, it would remove them because I've got the out of goal attached to all of them. Now, what I want you to think about inside of the automation is think about what do you want everyone to receive potentially. usually inside the actual contacting sequence, you're going to set up in one of two ways. Either you're going to have it send out communications right away like this. So you have, if you put someone in contacting, it means you haven't heard from them yet. You're trying to get in touch with them. So this email is like hey, I'm trying to get in touch with you. Feel free to let me know if there's a best time that would work for you. Send me a quick reply. Otherwise, I'll try you back in a couple of days. That's the gist of this email. Now, in the stages, you can either have them trigger automatically to send out, like in the one example where we want to send out the new customer welcome or the welcome to the family email right away. Or alternatively, you can set up automation inside of the stages to serve as more of a safety net. So let's say, for example, we move someone into contacting, but we want to wait. And if they are still in contacting, these become contingencies then. If they are still in contacting and X days goes by, then it sends them this email. The beauty of this is that the second you move them from that pipeline stage, so let's say I have it set to 1 day and then it's going to move and then it's going to send this email out. The beauty of the way this campaign is set up is that if I move Lisa out of contacting before a day goes by and I move her into engaging or whatever the next stage is, then it does not send this email out. So this email then serves as a contingency plan for people who are just kind of taking a long time for us to get in touch with, but we're creating automation so that it can basically serve as our assistant. We don't need to be following up for them with these little micro things, but at the same time, we're still doing communication. So you can decide, do you want the automation to start right away when someone moves into a particular stage? Or is it going to be more of a contingency plan, a backup plan for you where wait X period of time and then start this flow? And it will keep delivering those emails. You should have your flows built out so that for example, in contacting specifically, you might want to have it built out for 2 weeks. If it takes you, on average a week to get in touch with someone, this is where knowing a little bit of insight into your sales process is really helpful. But you can essentially do these external communications. You can also set up your sales process so that it can do internal notifications as well. You can have it so that, if I'm a salesperson, right, and if I've got a sales manager, what I can do from here is I can have it wait X days. If the contact is in here, let's say I have it wait, for example, 1 week. And after a week, if the person is still in contacting, what I can also do is I can set it up to apply a note on the contact record where I can say, for example, something like stalled opportunity. And I can just make this an other, and I can notify the sales manager of this stalled opportunity. Not only is it going to show up as a note on the contact record, so the same way on Lisa's record down below here, it has these notes. It would also show a note that looks like this, stalled opportunity. Again, this is if she's in that contacting stage for so long. You can just say contacting stage. That would probably make it more valuable for you. You can save it. And so this also shows a trail of what's happening, and you can search. The reason this is important is you can actually search by these notes by going under the admin reports and going to the task note report, and you can search. So if I wanted to find everybody, if I do a new search and I wanted to find stalled opportunity, you can see that she shows up here, and me as a salesperson or me even as a rep, I can actually get visibility into what are all my opportunities that have potentially stalled out. So that's really how you can use the sales pipeline to create automation behind the stages that are super important for you. Again, the automation is going to be either like the sales rep's assistant, or it's going to be the sales manager's kind of like, it's going to be an invisible sales manager, because it's going to notify the manager when important things are kind of falling through the cracks or opportunities are getting stalled out. And it can also be served as a reminder to the salesperson if something is taking a little bit too long. So
yeah, I've incorporated that in some of my teams here, where I'll actually have an email that goes out like from the manager to the employee saying, hey, I'm checking in on this opportunity. It's been there for a couple of days. What's going on? Absolutely. And it's fun watching people scramble until like they get the fourth one and they know it was automated. But
absolutely. The way you can get people inside the pipeline, you can either have it so that when you create the opportunities manually, you go to opportunities and you create them manually, and then you add them into a particular stage, that ties to the campaign builder and starts the whole process. Or what you can alternatively do is, let's say you have a form on your website and you go ahead and attach a sequence. So this is my newsletter sign up. So I have my newsletter sign up. Someone goes and fills out this form. Inside this sequence, I can have it create the opportunity for me, so I don't need to do that manually. And I can just simply go to this process down here where it says create opportunity, and I can give it a title. If I don't give it a title, it is going to put the contact's name in the title. So usually I don't give it a title. I can select the stage I want it to start at. So usually it's going to be new lead. This is where picking those active stages is very important, because you can say, if the contact already is in an active stage, do not create another opportunity for them. And this is where you're assigning what the next action date is. So typically speaking, it's going to be 1 or 2 days later. And again, this is going to be your automated note to yourself so that you know what you're supposed to do next with this particular opportunity. The last thing I want to specifically call out here is the round robin assignment, or deciding who gets this opportunity, because you might have a sales team with multiple people that you need to have multiple people get assigned different opportunities, one for Renee, one for Grady, one for Renee, one for Grady. Or you might just want to give everything to one person. If it's going to a person, you can pick that person. If you want to round robin it specifically, you can use a round robin, and you can select a round robin. So I'm just going to pick the default round robin, and I'll show you how to set that up. So in this case, if somebody came through my newsletter sign up, what would happen is it would create the opportunity, because I assigned in this, I said, put them in the new lead stage. So what it would do is it would create the opportunity for me. And then it would also drop them into this sequence right here, because, well, this says new opportunity, but really we changed the name. So it would drop them into this sequence right here, because this is being, if you look at it, it's being triggered when someone moves into the new lead stage. So that's how those two are connected, and how you can save yourself some time and create automation behind having forms automatically create opportunities for you that then start automation processes for you as well. The round robin, as the very last thing, is triggered by under marketing settings. No, CRM settings. Yes, CRM settings. So again, where we were looking at the sales settings, and we changed those sales pipeline and opportunity defaults, you'll see round robin is right here. And you'll see the default round robin that I picked is right here. So if I click on edit, you can see that you can assign either one record per round, or you can distribute based on a ratio. If you know someone on your team is a higher closer, you can give, the higher closer 2 opportunity records for every one that everybody else on your team gets. I know we are super over, so I want to thank everybody so much for just staying with me. I know we still have a solid group of people here, and I know others will watch it in the recording. Please feel free, take a couple minutes. Let me know what questions I might answer for you before we just wrap up today.
Yeah, guys, if there are any questions that you guys have while we've got Renee here, we're glad to take a few minutes extra if you've got them. And let's see here. Oh, that was me moving the mouse. But also, we've got sessions going on Wednesday and Thursday as well that we'd love to have you guys join us for. And Renee will be back. Is it next week or the week after?
Next week. I think we're doing Thursday, and we're going to do a little e-commerce highlight of some of the cool functionality we can do inside of the campaign builder.
Yeah, how we can automatically create invoices and even automatically get paid for those of you that are in Infusionsoft. So that's a really cool tool we'll have. Let's see here. So Jody had asked, is it Jody? All I see is Jode because it's so small. If we can't attend Wednesday or Thursday, can we get a recording? Yes, if you go back to the registration page, every day we try to get the recordings up on that page at the very bottom so you can see those. Cynthia said, Renee, that this was very informative, so she says thank you, and so do I. Let's see here. Kwanzaa sent you a Facebook message, so follow up with her. And then, let's see here. And then I talked about this earlier. I'll grab it again. We have a getting started webinar that is a Keep Pro specific session all about the pipeline. I put the link in the chat there for you guys, and so if you want to get help with Keep Pro's pipeline, you can join me for that. I do that one on Wednesdays, and so just look for Keep Pipeline. Let's see, I'm looking right now. Yeah, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Again, if you've got more questions, a lot of you have already found Renee's Facebook group, but if you haven't yet, I'll also send out an email this afternoon that has a link to that Facebook group, and Renee's a wealth of information, and you guys would be good to connect with her offline.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you so
thanks,
much,
Renee.
everybody. Thank
All right,
you.
bye.